I'm ready to create my edge to edge for this really pretty quilt. It has a lot of stars on it, a lot of straight lines, so I chose something that I think will have some curves in it and give the quilt a little bit of movement. So let me bring you over to my screen and I'll show you how I create an edge to edge design for this quilt. I'm going to zoom in here and I think you can see all of my screen. Go a little bit smaller here. Okay, so I chose this pattern called Petal Feather by One Song Needle Arts. And I can see under the design in my workspace that the width is 26 inches and the height is 30 inches. That's a huge pattern. I don't have the throat space for that. So what I'm going to do first thing is I'm going to resize this pattern down to where I can use it in my throat space. So I'm going to go Modify, Resize, and I'm going to lock the lock so that my height and width move together, and I'm going to lock the height and the width will come with it. So I've got 18 inches of quilting space, so I'm going to set that up at 12 inches. I think that'll look pretty on here. So there's my 12 inches. Okay, so now I can see that the pattern is 10 inches wide by 12 inches in height, and that's manageable. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my machine and let it measure the quilt for me horizontally, and then I'm going to put in the vertical. So let's come and watch how I do that. So I'll just take my machine over to the left hand side, all the way at the top and over. I like to go over about an inch, and I'm going to hit my area and I'm going to hit 2 corner. Now I like to lock my wheels in the horizontal position to make sure that I'm coming across straight here and that my quilt's loaded straight. And it is. I'm going to come over about an inch on this side off my batting, and I'm going to hit 2 corner again. So now that I've got that, I can take off my lock and I'll move the machine closer so I don't have to reach so far. Let me move you in a little bit. Okay, so now I have my width at 59.59. I don't have a height in here because I just went straight across. So I'm going to type in the height of this quilt, and I know that it's 72 inches. And I'm just going to add a little bit more so that I overpopulate. So I make it bigger to allow for shrinkage of the quilting. So I'm going to put in 76 inches just to be on the safe side. And I'll refresh this so you can see what happens. Hit enter, and now you see that I have an area box for my whole quilt with the design off to the side. So now I'm going to let the machine decide how many repeats that this can take. So I'm going to go to repeat, and I'm going to come over here to the workspace and I'm going to hit fill. All right, so at 10 inches wide, it said I can only get 6 repeats across. So I'm going to add a couple more on the horizontal. So it's sticking out a little bit. Let me have 1 more there. And I'm going to add a couple more to the vertical so that I can fill that up. And then I'm going to zoom you in here. So I'm just going to hit the zoom button here. And I'm going to draw a box. And while I'm under the vertical tab, I'm going to close that gap between the rows. So I just keep my finger down there, and you see how they're coming. I'll make it a little bit bigger so you can see. I want that gap in there to close up a little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. Has a nice movement to it. I like that. I'll refresh my screen again. Okay, so now you can see that I have too much quilt on the outside of my area. So I'm going to come over to Modify. I'm going to Crop, and I'm going to take away everything on the outside of the area by hitting Outside. And I'm going to close those jumps in between all the pieces that I chopped off by closing my edges. And there you see that my pattern is all set up for the quilt. I'm not done yet. The most important thing that I need to do now is to save it with all the changes that I made to it. So I'm going to go to my repeat screen and I'll show you. Under vertical, I have 9 rows. And under horizontal, I have 9 rows. Okay? I'm going to baseline, which means it's going to save all the changes that I made to that one design. And now you can see I have 1 horizontal pattern and 1 vertical pattern. So instead of all those separate elements to the pattern, I now have 1 pattern to it. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to save this pattern just in case I need to shut down or I have a motor error, which you know that happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, Save, and I'm going to save Selected. And that's going to allow me to put it in a folder that I created. So I have a folder here called Current, and I'm going to touch the space bar down there. I'm going to clear the name of it, and I'm going to type in Lynn, because this is Lynn's quilt. I'm going to put her initial J, and I'm going to say Save. So you can see that it's saving. So if I shut this down, it'll be the first pattern under File, Design, Open. It'll be the first one, and I can grab it there, or I can open up my file folder and open there. So that's how I set up an edge-to-edge pattern. And I may be able to get this done today. If I don't, I'll show you the process again for how I shut down and bring it up tomorrow morning. So I hope this helps you. I think that sometimes you need to see it more than one time, how to create the edge to edge and how to crop it. It just is, Pro Stitcher just makes me look so good. I love it. I love it. Okay, so have a great day, and I'm going to get to quilting. Happy quilting, everybody.